Barry Rosen, you're in Vienna right now on hunger strike. Tell us why you're doing that.
It's very simple. I'm doing this hunger strike because I care about those hostages that have been taken by Iran and imprisoned by Iran as bargaining chips in any way, shape, or form for some political maneuver by the Islamic Republic of Iran. And so I'm celebrating, if you want to call that, the 41st anniversary of my release from Iranian imprisonment from 1979 to 1981. And I thought about this in a very profound way for myself. I said, I need to do something. This is going on for too long, 4 decades of hostage taking. And I just felt that I had to do something. Maybe it's this urge to continually try to help those people who are going through what I went through. And in many cases, some of these people are there for years, many more years than mine. So,
Barry,
yes.
Can you tell our audience, first of all, how are you doing? How are you feeling? You're on hunger strike. You're not eating.
Yeah, no, I'm not eating, but I'm drinking water, and
Good.
I have electrolytes, and I'm doing all right for now. I don't know how it will be the next several days, but for now I'm doing all right. So I'm always consulting doctors and so forth. At my age, it's not the perfect time to do a hunger strike.
How old are you, Barry? How old are you?
77.
Wow.
And for simple 1-day fasts like Yom Kippur, I can do that. But for something like this is a novelty for me.
Barry, you're a true American hero. As you were alluding to earlier, you were one of the American embassy staff who were taken hostage by the Iranian radical revolutionaries in 1979, and you were held hostage for 444 days. You were maltreated, and if I might say, they used torture methods on you. Barry, how did you get through that experience?
It's very interesting. I sometimes think, did this happen to me? I think when you're in it, you're so caught up in some sort of defensive action that you're trying to escape, but yet at the same time trying to be defiant. And sometimes my defiant side won out, and sometimes my fearful side won out. But I just kept on counting days and hoping that I'd see my wife, Barbara, and my 2 children. At that time, were very, very young. Alexander and Ariana, he was 4 and she was just not even a year old when I left for Iran.
It's heartbreaking. And I think what's heartbreaking for me, as someone who was born in Iran, and my family fled the revolution, and we arrived here right when you were being taken hostage. What's heartbreaking is the fact that you're on hunger strike right now to try to get the United States government to do the right thing as they sit across the table with the Iranian regime. Like you're saying, it's 4 decades of hostage taking by this illegitimate regime in Iran, and there are still Americans languishing in Iranian prison right now. How many Americans are hostage right now, Barry?
There are 4 Americans. And all told, Europeans and UK residents, we're talking about over 2 dozen. These are being held. These people are being held. Look, Siamak Namazi has been held for more than 7 years now. And his father, Bakir Namazi, went over to visit his son Siamak, and he was taken hostage. His father was 80 when he was taken hostage. He's now about 86. That's incredible. It's incredible. Look, Iran, Iranian culture and history. Every Iranian talks about the notion of Mehman Navazi. That is the custom of hospitality in Iran, to take care of others, to be good to others. And the guest is always paramount, no doubt about it. And look at Saadi. Saadi says it all about what Iran was culturally. Saadi always talked about the connectivity of 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 each human being. That great poet, that 13th century poet, talked about that all of us are connected to each other. Each human being is connected to every other human being. And if anybody is hurt, we're all hurt. And that's in his famous poem, Beni Adam. And
Indeed,
yeah,
Barry. And you are someone who speaks Farsi fluently. You spent time in Iran before you went over there as press attaché. Barry, I want to stay with you on the issue of the hostages right now. You met this morning with United States envoy for Iran, Rob Malley. What was the result of that meeting?
well, I think it was a very cordial and a very good meeting. I think that we both actually were very candid with each other about what my point of view was and what he thought the situation is now in terms of the agreement and also the hostage situation. So though I don't think it's necessary for me to go into the particulars of our conversation. I think it was a good conversation. We may be meeting again. I am looking forward to meeting with the Iranian delegation, but they haven't yet to respond to my messages of requests to meet them.
Barry,
I rather doubt that will ever come.
I doubt it too. And Barry, I need to ask you though, what is it that you are suggesting to the United States government, to the Western powers as they sit at this table negotiating with this Iranian regime? What is it that you're telling them they should do right now?
Well, I'm calling on Iran first to release all the hostages that they have taken immediately. And I'm also saying I think to the United States that it's our role to press Iran to release all the hostages. In addition, I feel very strongly that not only that, if there is an accord, if there is an agreement, a political agreement, and Iran, as usual, takes hostages, then the agreement should be null and void. Because otherwise, it's a piece of paper that Iran will use to get, I think, whatever cash it needs, but it will never really adhere to an agreement that says no hostages taken.
I think, Barry, that's a basic point to be making. That certainly, if the Iranians start to take American citizens hostage again, then this document should become null and void. However, I'm not terribly optimistic that the Biden administration,
I'm not optimistic either. Yeah, I'm not optimistic either. You know, there are political necessities going on. Everybody wants to make a deal. Somehow there will be a deal eventually, we hope. But I want to bring this to the fore. That is, this has to be brought to the consciousness of all Americans and American leaders. It's about time, not only in America, but collectively, the Western world needs to get its act together about punishing human rights violators. And Iran is right on top of one of the major human rights violators, not only hostages, but political prisoners too. Iran is replete with that.
Yes, I mean, it's one of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and the Iranian people pay dearly with their lives. And every time they've tried to protest, the regime in past years has been taking live ammunition and killing Iranians on the streets for even daring to protest against them. Right. So Barry, you're right. The West needs to get our act together in terms of holding this regime accountable. Barry, I want to ask you something. How much longer do you think you're going to have to hunger strike? How much longer do you think you're going to have to, hold yourself back from eating this basic human necessity that we have?
I will listen to my body. I will I will be smart about it. As I said, I'm no youngster. I want to make sure that I get out of this hunger strike in good condition, but I want to make sure that people hear what I'm saying too.
Absolutely. And I hope that our administration, who they're elected into office and they're beholden to the American people for what we demand of them. And so I hope that our administration will hear your voice. I hope that Rob Malley will really take away the right message, which is that there is no reason for this regime to be holding Americans hostages. And that should be a basic requirement for signing any new deal with them. May I ask also, I understand there's an Iranian gentleman who's joining you. Is that correct?
Yes, I met him this afternoon, and he said that he was taken by the situation of an Iranian poet who died in prison in Iran, I think from a COVID-related disease. So I think he is starting his own hunger strike, and he wants to work with me.
Barry, I know that your time is running out and you're not feeling great, understandably so. So my last question to you is, have you been getting media requests from the mainstream major media outlets in the United States? Have you been contacted by CNN, MSNBC, by the BBC International?
CNN International and I have worked on an interview. I did that with them. I have not gotten any major network from the United States covering it, no. I've gotten a lot of other media, but not from the major networks.
Okay, well, you know what, Barry, I hope the major networks, that they watch this and that they get in touch with you right away. There's no reason why you, a hero of the American people, needs to be on hunger strike to get heard. And so, Barry, I just want to thank you so much on behalf of the families of the hostages, which I'm sure that they're just so touched and moved by what you're doing. And I want to thank you on behalf of the Iranian people. I have many Iranians who follow me, and I know that they are with you right now. So truly, Barry, thank you for what you're doing. Stay strong, and most importantly, please stay safe.
Thank you very much.